CIM401 Research Report. Randomize your creativity. My research question: experimental approach for music creation utilizing randomization and limitations to create an experimental EP. As experimentation is the main theme of this module, I'm choosing to push my creative process to the unknown and to implement techniques that could lead to interesting outcomes through randomization and limitations within my workflow. There are three main stylistic processes I will be exploring: generative music, randomization, and limitations. Let's start with experimental music. Experimental composers are by and large not concerned with prescribing a defined time-based object whose materials, structuring and relationships are calculated and arranged in advance, but are more excited by the prospect of outlining a situation where sounds may occur. The term experimental music started as early as 1953, with Pierre Schaeffer attempting to subsume other non-traditional techniques into a collective. Notably, John Cage also started using the term in 1955. Most of these pioneers were interested in the unpredictability of compositions and performances. The term experimental music can be interpreted by different people in so many different ways, but for my purposes I would like to focus on exploring new sounds and interesting aesthetic. It will be utilizing certain techniques that have already been explored and implement them into my projects. Being able to experiment with music and sound is something that excites me very much, and I'm very much looking forward to explore this within this module. Generative music, a branch of generative art, offers the potential for composers to explore more extemporaneous composition. Philip Galanter defines generative art as any art practice where the artist uses a system which is set into motion with some degree of autonomy, contributing to or resulting in a completed work of art. Likewise, generative music can be understood to be compositions that are created by a process, for example a computer program, that operates on its own to generate entire compositions that will change with each run of the system. As part of my experimentation, I will be introducing generative elements into my workflow. This will be one of the main stylistic limitations that will force me to explore different sound palettes and compositional techniques. The generative elements will work hand in hand with randomization. Randomization is the application of chance operations, is frequently employed to realize electronic music, especially with the addition of computers to the composing process. Software such as Max MSP provide a ready means to apply randomizing routines to any aspect of the performance, with the operation of software instruments, to the channeling of MIDI signals, to the spatial distribution of the resulting music. Yet, even with the aid of computers, true randomness is really a definition provided by whomever is writing the routine. Cage remarked to the authors that there was no such thing as true randomness, just somebody's definition of true randomness. I will be using tools within my DAW, Ableton, that will be randomizing MIDI notes. I will, however, be controlling the musicality of the melodic notes, and all compositions will be in a defined Western scale. The drums, however, will be completely randomized. I will re-record these sounds and then select workable parts. Notable people and projects. In terms of experimental music, one could start with John Cage's 433, a 3-movement, 4.5-minute performance of silence. I will, however, rather be looking at something with a bit more audible results. Matthew Herbert is a profound composer, artist, and a major inspiration for me within the electronic music world, and he has done some very interesting projects. One such project is the One Pig album concept, where Herbert recorded a pig from birth to plate and made a record out of only sounds that he recorded while tracking the little pig's life. If you would like to find out more, here's a link to the video, but a content warning for sensitive viewers, as the slaughter of animals are discussed very openly within the video. The idea of limiting your content to one subject and the environment around that subject is something that intrigues me, and I will be implementing very similar approaches within my productions. He also always explores different ways to record elements that he uses within his productions, and he has several such projects where he truly pushes beyond the traditional norms and genres of performance. Feel free to check out his website. Here is an example of Herbert's manifesto, where again you'll see a lot of limitations that forces him to then think outside the box and creates chance for randomized genius to appear. Something else noting is the Techno Pioneers, where I really get a lot of influence for my more danceable electronic music. In 1982, a group of friends known as the Belleville Three created a style of music that not only defined their city but also changed the world of electronic dance music for decades to come. It was very well known that in the early days, the genre was based around these gentlemen getting hold of very cheap drum machines and synthesizers, and that's how they made techno. And I will be utilizing a very similar type of limitation as well within my project. So, my manifesto for this experimental EP, I'm going to create 3 very distinct and experimental tracks. I'm going to have at least 3 acoustic type instruments that have to be recorded in a non-acoustically treated environment. One main element from each track has to be randomized, so either the drums, the lead, or the bass. The convert audio to MIDI function within Ableton has to be used at least twice in each track. I cannot use more than 15 tracks in my final arrangement, and the final EP has to be released on Bandcamp. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to discussing my project with you in more detail later. Thanks.